Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is time for another fucking political video because it's been a while. So we are about roughly 8 months into Biden's presidency, and it's been a real shit show, to say the least. I like to give myself a reality check because sometimes we do get stuck so deep in our own biases, so I figured we'd do a little like compare and contrast of Trump's first 8 months compared to Biden's, just to see if Biden's really as bad as we all think he is. Because if Trump was this horrible tyrant, like gunslinging, racist, like Biden should be easily better than that, according to media standards. Like Biden should be a fucking angel,
a God-sent gift to Earth,
compared to Trump. So we're gonna go like month by month. I'm not gonna go like too in detail or name everything because that'd be fucking impossible, really tedious. I wouldn't want to make it, you wouldn't want to watch it. It'd be too much. Because there's a lot of minute bullshit that happens, but I just want to talk about just some of the events that happened in the first 8 months of each presidency, month to month. So we'll just start January. For Trump, it'll obviously be 2017. The dates that I'm referencing, the months, and Biden obviously this year, 2021. So, starting with January, right after being inaugurated, Trump immediately comes through on a campaign promise and begins to pull out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And so obviously, his fans happy, critics not so much, but that was expected.
I signed 3 memorandums right now. The first one is withdrawal from the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Everyone knows what that means, right? We've been talking about this for a long time. Thank you.
Announced his intention to withdraw from TPP. That's that huge, as you pointed out, multinational trade deal. You and I covered this under the Obama administration. This is something that never was approved by Congress. So ultimately, President Trump does have the authority to pull out of that deal. And I'm told, according to a White House official, he's going to task some of his top economic and trade advisors to renegotiate deals with the individual countries. I'm also told that this is step one in trying to renegotiate NAFTA. Of course, that agreement with Mexico and Canada. John McCain is reacting to all of this, Chris. He's calling the decision to pull out of the TPP a serious mistake that will have lasting consequences for America's economy and our strategic position in the Asia-Pacific region. So getting some backlash from members of his own party on this first full day of his first week in the White House.
The United States being cut off from trade would be like trying to breathe without oxygen. It's an essential part of our economy.
I think that what he's trying to communicate, and what Peter Navarro communicated this morning on our program, is they want fair trade.
Now, others in organized labor and human rights praise Trump for pulling out of the deal, but all sides say they are anxious to see what fills the void. The president has promised to negotiate a series of bilateral trade agreements, which normally would take years, but the feeling is that Trump will work very fast. Now, the elephant in the trade room, of course, is on NAFTA, and all eyes right now on our relationship with Mexico.
And I feel like most people probably remember this one. He put a travel ban on 7 countries that are predominantly Muslim.
Administration officials now say the ban will not apply to people with green cards, even if they come from one of the 7 nations. Jerika Duncan is at New York City's Kennedy Airport, where more demonstrations are expected today.
Travel ban for 7 Muslim-majority countries after a weekend of angry demonstrations. Protesters flooded downtown Seattle and Los Angeles International Airport overnight. Now, that followed protests in several other major airports in the country.
Huge nationwide protests erupted once again on President Donald Trump's second weekend in office. What started out Saturday as a spontaneous demonstration at JFK had spread to airports from coast to coast Sunday.
God, I remember seeing those protests at the airport and just thinking, why don't you people offer to bring some of those people from these countries to your home? You take care of them, since you feel so strongly and care so much about their lives. Obviously, it dissipated in the courts for the months following it. tried to like make it illegitimate, and then I think he eventually did win that one. Obama also fucking did it. On Biden's end, this past January, he signed over 25 executive orders within really just like what, a week and a half? Unheard of. And 13 of them were to undo things that Trump put as executive orders.
Many of the things that Joe Biden signed today are pure reversals of executive actions that Donald Trump took. So think about it as the pendulum swinging, the flip of a switch.
Why would he do this when he has the House and the Senate? I mean, people in 4 years can just revoke all these EOs. What's the deal? Joe Biden's also ramming through a progressive agenda via executive power with no signs of stopping. Biden issuing new executive orders today to advance racial equity. And so far, he's signed 17 executive orders, which, as you can see, wipes the floor with his predecessors. Wow. And that number doesn't even include the 18 executive actions Biden has also signed. The hypocrisy...
First, Biden signed an executive order revoking the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. Biden also instructed the Department of Homeland Security to halt deportations of illegal aliens. There is no question, and there's no getting around the economic effect of this decision. Millions of Americans don't have jobs right now. But with a single shaky signature, Joe Biden just put another 11,000 people out of work in this country, just like that.
It would be comical, but it's not funny. Here are some of the examples of things that he put as executive orders in this first couple weeks as president. Again, not all of them, not by far. I left out some of the dumber ones. It's not gonna destroy us, but it's like, it's not good for us, but it's not gonna destroy us. Left those ones out. So these are just some of the more major ones. He immediately rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement. Dumb. He ended Trump's ban on Muslim countries. Also dumb. He canceled the Keystone Pipeline, which was a really fucking awful way to start off a presidency, honestly. Like, what a shitty fucking thing to do immediately. He terminated construction and funding of the border wall, which I'm sure a lot of us saw those pictures where it was literally just like half finished with equipment just sitting around it. Like, we couldn't just finish the fucking area when it was already funded. Just fucking dumb, just brainless acts just to spite Trump, when it's like, dude, you beat him, that should be enough. Like, right, that should be enough for these people, but it never is. It's been just mandates galore with fucking Biden, and he immediately put a mask mandate on all federal property, which he did not follow through on, nor did Jen Psaki and I'm sure others.
Why weren't President Biden and all members of the Biden family masked at all times on federal lands last night if he signed an executive order that mandates masks on federal lands at all times?
At the inaugural...
At the Lincoln Memorial, yes.
I think, Steve, he was celebrating an evening of a historic day in our country, and certainly he signed the mask mandate because it's a way to send a message to the American public about the importance of wearing masks, how it can save tens of thousands of lives. We take a number of COVID precautions, as you know here, in terms of testing, social distancing, mask wearing ourselves, as we do every single day, but I don't know that I have more for you on it.
He made guaranteed unemployment benefits for people literally who were unwilling to work. People who literally could go to work but won't. He was like, yep, I'm gonna give you guys money guaranteed. Guaranteed! Because that makes perfect sense. And he also put in more COVID travel restrictions. At one point he was talking about banning flights out of Florida. Like, that's how much control these people think they have. And it's incredible to me that Democrats really didn't push back on this. Like, that is so fucking extreme for a first, like, week and a half of your presidency. That is so fucking extreme and hardcore. I'll never understand the people who are, like, wanting the government to give them more rules to follow and don't, like, at all see where that could lead to. Like, just complete denial, just defend the people who would literally not defend you. Like, They'd pick themselves over you every time, and they do. But go ahead, you go ask for more rules and regulations, you weirdo. February 2017 was like actually pretty low-key for Trump. Like, he did a lot of like meeting world leaders and things like that. Nothing really major happened. Biden, on the other hand, spent a lot of February 2021 doing a lot of stupid things and like putting executive orders like on really just pointless things that you really can't enforce. So it's essentially pointless, which after going through a lot of the things he's spent time on, he's done a lot of pointless shit. Like, it's either completely dangerous and awful and a risk to like American lives, or it's pointless. Like, there's really just no in between. He did put his stamp of approval on a military strike against Iranian-backed militia in Syria as a retaliation.
In his first known show of force as America's commander-in-chief, U.S. President Joe Biden ordered airstrikes on buildings used by Iranian-backed militias in eastern Syria. The action was retaliation for the militia strikes in Iraq last week that wounded a U.S. military member and killed an American civilian contractor.
It left 17 of the militia dead, so that's a thing. March was the beginning of Trump really going in on the fact that he thinks there was a shit ton of voter fraud. Like, even though he won, he was claiming there was like 3 million votes to Hillary Clinton that were fake. And he also expressed that he thought, like, he was pretty fucking sure that during the campaign and the election that he was being wiretapped.
Breaking news, President Trump's striking allegations against former President Barack Obama. President Trump in a Twitter tirade accusing the former president of spying on him at Trump Tower by wiretapping phones, but offering no evidence or even what prompted those allegations. A spokesman for President Obama firing back, saying neither the former president nor the Obama White House ordered or interfered with any such surveillance. This following reports of a dramatic and heated exchange, you see it there, inside the Oval Office with key Trump advisors, which led to some key aides not accompanying the president on Air Force One as he took off for Florida.
For sunrise in Palm Beach, when the President of the United States took to Twitter to make one of his most stunning accusations ever. Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. Followed by 4 more presidential outbursts taking on President Obama and misspelling tap. How low has President Obama gone to tap my phones during the very sacred election process? This is Nixon Watergate. Bad or sick guy. Today, a senator from the president's own party, along with U.S. intelligence officials, called it a troubling development.
I'm very worried. I'm very worried that our president is suggesting that the former president has done something illegally.
It would be a spokesperson for President Obama quickly called the allegations false. And one of Obama's former national security aides, Ben Rhodes, responded to Trump. No president can order a wiretap. Those restrictions were put in place to protect citizens from people like you.
And it turns out, obviously we know now he was, and everyone who worked for him. So watching the media's reaction to that now is just, it's kind of silly. Actually, it's incredibly silly. And he also put the number of countries that he had the travel ban on down to 6 instead of 7. For Biden, March was not as kind to him as January and February were, because 21 states filed a lawsuit against him, seeking to undo his decision on the Keystone Pipeline.
Attorneys general from 21 states, including South Carolina, are suing President Biden over his decision to cancel the Keystone Oil Pipeline. The states say the president overstepped his authority. The lawsuit says because the line would run through multiple states, Congress should have the final say over whether it's built.
So in April, Trump got kind of intense on us. He got kind of serious with these bitches in the Middle East. He started off with a air missile strike against a Syrian air base after it came out that the government was using chemical warfare, like, on innocent people. That caused a lot of them to die.
These graphic images posted online by activists and people who live in the area show victims, many of them children, struggling to breathe. Desperate first responders rush in, ripping off clothes and spraying survivors with water. As many as 58 people dead, and some claim the toll could rise above 100. Scattered in the mud, the bodies of lifeless children suspected of being poisoned in a chemical attack allegedly orchestrated by their own government.
Situation we cannot describe by words. Really, it is very sad.
Dr. Mizar Hassani. Nikki Haley, U.S. ambassador to the UN, is now calling for an emergency meeting to discuss the attack, which is being described as among the worst in a civil war that has been raging in Syria for more than 7 years.
My fellow Americans, on Tuesday, Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad launched a horrible chemical weapons attack using a deadly nerve agent. Assad choked out the lives of helpless men, women, and children. It was a slow and brutal death for so many. Tonight I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield in Syria from where the chemical attack was launched.
Then he dropped the mother of all bombs on ISIS, who were in Afghanistan.
Some information that was provided by the Department of Defense. The bomb was dropped by a U.S. aircraft. U.S. forces in Afghanistan dropped it at 7:32 p.m. local time in northeast Afghanistan, just about 2 hours from Kabul. They targeted an ISIS tunnel complex that the Department of Defense is calling a stronghold for ISIS in Afghanistan and Pakistan. They said that offensive operations in that region will continue. Now,
April 14th of this year, Biden announced that he would be pulling all troops from Afghanistan by September 11th. That's weird to think about now.
I'm speaking to you today from the Roosevelt, the Treaty Room in the White House. I've concluded that it's time to end America's longest war. It's time for American troops to come home. We cannot continue the cycle of extending or expanding our military presence in Afghanistan, hoping to create ideal conditions for the withdrawal and expecting a different result.
So nothing major really happened with Trump in May 2017, and honestly not so much with Biden. Like, there was the border crisis going on, but he basically shoved that on Kamala Harris, so what are you gonna do? Although he did introduce his proposed idea for a $6 trillion budget plan, which, what kind of budget is that? I mean, I just feel like that's an oxymoron to put that together. Budget and $6 trillion in the same thing. It just doesn't correlate to me. In June of 2017, Trump pulled out of the Paris Climate Act, and that, I think, was a good idea, but obviously Biden has now put us back in it.
With the world watching, today President Trump walked into the Rose Garden to deliver the news himself.
Therefore, in order to fulfill my solemn duty to protect America and its citizens, the United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord.
To the cheers of White House aides and others who lobbied against the agreement, he made good on that campaign promise. But in his own inner circle, the divisions ran deep. Right there in the front row, the man who lobbied for withdrawal, his chief strategist Steve Bannon. Not seen, those who opposed leaving the deal, daughter Ivanka. She was home marking the Jewish holiday. The last-minute lobbying from around the world intense. But the bottom line for President Trump, American jobs.
I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris.
June of this year, Biden officially ended the Remain in Mexico policy that Trump put in place. Because, you know, the border crisis was going so well that, like, that was the right move at that time. That was the perfect thing that, like, any practical person would do in that moment.
The administration announced it's officially ending the so-called Remain in Mexico policy, which forced asylum seekers to remain in Mexico as they awaited decisions on their cases.
Which kept asylum seekers outside of the U.S. while their cases were decided.
But former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo tweeted, once again, the Biden administration puts America last. And Republican Congressman Jim Jordan asked in a tweet, are they intentionally trying to encourage illegal immigration?
He put out a retaliation airstrike in Syria for some drone attacks that happened.
We are told that this is meant to send a very clear and direct message to Iranian-backed militia groups that there will be serious consequences if U.S. forces continue to be threatened or attacked. Take a look at this video released overnight showing the moments these airstrikes were carried out. At this time, it's unclear if there were any casualties. Defense officials say the targets were 3 facilities behind recent drone attacks on American troops in Iraq. Now, the Pentagon is describing this as a defensive strike, calling it necessary to address the threat. But these militia groups are already vowing revenge, saying that they will continue to target U.S. forces.
July, also nothing like super crazy happened with Trump or Biden, honestly. Biden did do a town hall with CNN, which I did a video on, so you should go watch that. And also there was that moment where Biden had something on his face that I still find very, very funny.
Commander-in-Chief saving a little snack for later while in a meeting yesterday. He was made aware of some food on his face after being slipped a note that says, "Sir, there is something on your chin." The president can then be seen wiping his face and inspecting food before popping it back in his mouth.
No.
Oh, stop.
Ew.
Did you make that last bit up?
I'm going on the great faith of our newsroom.
August 2017, obviously hurricane season and all that shit. Hurricane Harvey fucked up Texas. So Trump actually gave $1 million of his own money to help towards the recovery efforts that were going on.
I'm happy to tell you that he is would like to join in the efforts that a lot of the people that we've seen across this country do, and he's pledging $1 million of personal money to the fund, and he's.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So what is that? How are you? Good. How's you doing today? Are you good?
Good. Are you having fun?
It's a great speaker.
Yes, he is.
I like the coverage of him in that time was pretty negative. The media did what it did.
A big test for this presidency.
Most controversial tweet around 10 p.m. on Friday night as the hurricane was coming in. The president decided to make his first pardon. That's Sheriff Joe Arpaio out of Arizona, drawing a lot of criticism.
Yeah, this tweet came right as the storm was barreling at Texas, George, on Friday evening. Now, of course, this is the former sheriff there in Arizona who was found guilty of criminal contempt for continuing to illegally profile Latinos suspected of being undocumented. George, the president facing a lot of criticism, even from Republicans, for this pardon.
Including the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Cecilia Vega, thanks very much.
And now it's just about to get super fucking negative because we're basically almost caught up. Beginning of August, Biden sends B-52 bombers to attack the Taliban in Afghanistan after they basically took over 2 major cities. I don't know where the logic was in like immediately leaving after that. That makes no sense.
Amid increased control by the Taliban over Afghan territory, U.S. Air Force has inflicted retaliatory strikes. Following President Biden's orders, Boeing B-52 and AC-130 gunships of the U.S. have inflicted serious damage upon Taliban positions in North Afghanistan. The Taliban explicated the near end of U.S. combat missions in Afghanistan. However, it is highly probable that U.S. might have to alter this strategy in case the Taliban forces make deep inroads into Kandahar or even Kabul, where U.S. maintains an embassy with some 4,000 people.
And we all kind of know what has transpired ever since then. It's very fresh. So let me know your thoughts below on how you think Trump's first 8 months were compared to Biden's. I think we're probably thinking the same thing. And if we're not, watch the video again, look deeper into these things, educate yourself, don't be an idiot. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, you might as well give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Because why wouldn't you?
I will see you guys next time. You'll see me next time. Bye.